This is the Fantasy Football Game Plan, where we talk about fantasy football and the NFL.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm still recovering from the sloppy Patriots loss to Chicago last night. That really surprised me.
Yeah, quite a game that was. Good running game, I guess, for the Bears. But yeah, it definitely was it was better Monday night game than most Monday night games, though, I guess.
Well, not if you're a Patriots fan.
Yeah, but if you were just watching it for entertainment wise, it's not a bad game to watch.
I guess. I thought the Patriots had a defense. I don't know what happened. I mean, they should have won that game with their defense, and apparently it's gone.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, moving on. How'd you do this weekend?
Another victory.
Wow, what's your record?
6-1.
Awesome.
So there's three of us tied at 6-1. I'm sitting at second place. And I believe one of the other two, they kind of like snuck by with an outstanding performance by the running back from Chicago, Hubbard, coming in with like 23 points. So they were projected to lose, but then Hubbard got a couple of touchdowns and good over 60 rushing yards. So and attribute to his points in the PPR and caught a couple of passes too. So they bumped, they snuck through their win, but I snuck through mine too. It's not like I won by a landslide. I only got 1 point. I mean, I think I won by like 2 points or 3 points or something differential.
Me too.
No.
It wasn't looking good for me because the guy I was playing had Justin Fields, and I thought there would be no problem at the beginning of the game, and then he just started ripping the Patriots apart, and I thought, oh man, I'm going to lose to Justin Fields. But at the end of the game, he took a knee instead of trying to score, so that's what made the difference for me.
Good old classy football players being very sportsmanlike ship to the other team or coach. So that's interesting. I know Nick, I think it was Nick Chubb did that 1 year too. He was rushing for like 3 touchdowns, and then on his 4th touchdown, he was like, wait a second, I'm going to lose the game. Or
yeah, just take a seat on the 1 yard line.
Yeah, exactly. So
I was saying to one of the guys in my league, it feels like fantasy football is just a crapshoot this year. There's just so many random things happening. Unless you have Josh Allen as your quarterback, it doesn't feel like there's any sure things out there.
No, the people from years past that were throwing up numbers in the quarterback position are not doing much this year. And quarterback's almost like a tight end stream these days. If you're not sitting there with Mahomes as well too, it's pretty tough to get consistent quarterback play as they're scoring a lot of the times in my PPR league under 20 points. In years past, they used to get you at least over 20. 20 would be the bare minimum, but now it's kind of hard to break, especially in this season of 7 weeks.
Yeah, so this week 8, there's 2 teams on a bye. Justin Herbert not playing. The Chargers are on a bye. And the guy you were just talking about, Patrick Mahomes, on a bye. So if you're looking for a quarterback this week, who do you go to on the waiver wire?
Daniel Jones.
Okay, if you can get him. I mean, he's long gone in my league. But yeah, maybe. We talked about Heineke last week.
Yes.
He got away with murder, man. He should have had like 4 interceptions, but they kept getting called back. He was throwing pick sixes and throwing to all the guys with G's on their helmets. And he did throw to your guy McLaurin, like we talked about, so that was great. But do you trust Heineke?
If you're sitting with one of those 2 quarterbacks, it may not be bad just for like a stream option. But yeah, like it was interesting to see what he would do. And he was throwing to Terry McLaurin, who got some good numbers last week, so maybe he cleans up. So I guess it's a 50-50 choice. If you don't have a quarterback on your bench and that he's the next best man up, you can't go by his fantasy numbers for the season, as he's only probably sitting at 15 or even less than that. So you got to really take a look to see who's their opponent. And I think they play. Well, I can't recall who they're playing, but it might be someone for you or for anyone.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's not too many guys to choose from. Washington plays the Colts, by the way. Um, you know, Marcus Mariota's out there, but he hardly ever throws the ball. So I don't know. I mean, if you're desperate, maybe. And then the news just came out today. I guess Matt Ryan is benched now. He's got an injury, but they said they would have benched him anyways, which is quite funny. So Sam Ellinger, a guy who we know not very much about, is going to be the starting quarterback now for the Colts going forward. From what I can tell from his college days, he runs a lot. So basically another Mariota.
Yeah, I heard about that. 9 interceptions and 9 touchdowns. So for Matt Ryan.
So many weird things going on. Like, I don't know. I mean, take a chance maybe if you don't have Mahomes this week. I mean, should we just move on to running backs?
Sure, there's a couple to speak of because there was a big injury coming out of the Jets. If Michael Carter's still available in your league, you should probably snag him up because he's guaranteed probably RB1.
Well, maybe, but you know that they just traded for James Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right. But will he be like McCaffrey, like ready? And he's also kind of questionable, I believe, too. So if you need somebody for this week, like Bryce Hall was your player, James Robinson could also. I don't know about his health as he was questionable the last time I looked.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think both of those guys are someone you'll look at. Do you like those options over the guys we were talking about last week? You said Chuba Hubbard. I said Deonta Foreman from Carolina, and it turned out we were both right.
Yeah. So different backfield, obviously, in the Panthers. But let's see what happens. I guess you got to wait a little bit more to see who wins this battle of the running backs getting more touches, as I believe they were pretty equal.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard went out with an injury, but apparently it's not serious. He's the pass-catching back. He's more of the every down back, and Foreman is the guy who just grinds it out between the tackles. But he looked good.
Yep. I guess another guy too to make note of too is Kareem Williams from the Rams.
Yeah, I've got Kyron Williams stashed away on my bench. He's still on IR. I don't know when they're going to bring him off, but I'm hoping that something happens there because they're saying that Cam Akers is going to get traded. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy, similar situation, Gus Edwards. Hopefully you grabbed him off when he was on IR, because now he's the number one back in Baltimore and getting most of the carries and all the goal line work when they run the ball. And then the other guy I thought of was Caleb Huntley, is still available in a lot of leagues for Atlanta, and he's getting some good run also. They only run. They never throw on that team.
No. I had a chance to pick up Pitts, and I was hesitating, and then I chose someone else. I don't know who I chose instead of that, but I'm kind of happy. I think Pitts is, with carrying the load of London. They're not getting that many targets, both of them, and I guess the quarterback needs to be determined before they could really light up the season there.
They just don't throw the ball on that team. They won't throw to London. They won't throw to Pitts. They're two of the best guys at their position, and they won't give them the ball. They just want to run. Even if they're losing by 3 touchdowns, they just want to run.
Not sure what to say there, but that's Atlanta's. But they're winning, so maybe the formula works sometimes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think we're done QBs and running backs. There seems to be a lot of choices for wide receiver. Paris Campbell's come on lately, but we don't know what that's going to look like now with the new QB, Sam Ellinger. So do you trust Paris Campbell?
If you go off of previous years' record, yes.
Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore of the Jets, they both probably will get more targets because of Corey Davis's injury, and he's out now.
I heard Elijah Moore was complaining the other week about not getting enough touches, and so he wants it out. So he might be on a trade as well too.
Well, they said they're not going to trade him, and now that the guy, who's catching all the balls, Corey Davis, is out, maybe he'll be happy because he'll get the ball all the time. I mean, he's not happy that they're winning, but maybe if he gets the ball, he'll become happy because it's all about him.
Yeah.
And then his buddy Garrett Wilson, the rookie, has looked good. He's flashed. So, I mean, those two guys should be getting more balls, right?
Yeah, you'd hope that they decide to, because the running game is not going to be as strong as it was with Bryce Hall out, and if Michael Carter, if he wants to, he wasn't doing that great anyways at the beginning of the year, so maybe they do have to take a different look and approach. Maybe Tyler Conklin would be able to catch some balls too, as he has steady, trusty hands, because he hasn't seen much in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye on Josh Reynolds from Detroit. What happened there last week?
Oh no, an implosion of offense. I'm not sure what happened with Reynolds, why he started only catching the ball in the second half of the game. Maybe he was covered. Maybe I'm not really too sure. He was coming off a knee injury though, so maybe they just limited his play.
Okay, fair enough. No one can catch the ball for the Packers, but Sammy Watkins is now healthy. Do you think Rodgers will go to him a little more since everybody else is stinking it up and you got the injury to Lazard?
No comment on Green Bay, as it's not the best football these days. Rodgers getting pressured. He doesn't have enough time. I think with that quarterback and that offensive line, it's really hard to say what to do. You're just gambling at this point. And so I would stay away. They're like we talked about prior to this season, with some teams you just want to kind of stay away from. And this one is a good one for this year.
So who's your favorite receiver pickup this week?
With Metcalf going down, Marquise Goodwin from Seattle would probably be someone I would think of to pick up, as Lockett will be probably locked on by the number one defensive back. Marquise Goodwin might see some more balls thrown his way. And Geno Smith has been doing a great job getting the ball to different receivers. So it could probably be one of the top pickups this week, in my opinion.
That's a good one because I think Lockett's also a little banged up. The big thing that everyone's talking about from the Giants is Wan'Dale Robinson.
We talked about him last week.
Yeah, that was a good one by us. He is a good pickup. He's probably gone in a lot of leagues. He's gone in mine. But if people, are needing a guy, he's going to be the lead receiver on that team now.
Didn't you say that you snagged him up during draft? So he's been on your bench since week 1?
No, I took your advice and I got Jameson Williams, and I've had him stashed away.
Okay.
And I've got Kyron Williams stashed away, and you only have 2 IR guys that you can stash in my league. So those are my 2 stashes right now. I'm just looking at a couple more guys. Isaiah McKenzie for Buffalo. They'll be back. They're coming off a bye. Hopefully he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd be a guy to look at. And then what about the guy we talked about last week, Robbie Anderson? Do you think he'll play a bigger role for the Cardinals now?
I hope so. He got traded late in the week. So with Marquise Brown being out, there has to be an alternative option than Hopkins, as Hopkins is going to be, after watching the game unfold on Thursday night, you saw how reliable he was, how many targets he was getting after a couple of, I guess, sideline meltdowns or kind of like hands in the air waving. I think Robbie Anderson is going to be the same way too. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for Kyle Murray to be able to, get that chemistry. But I do think he's a definite wide receiver too. Now, if you're in a 2 wide receiver league, you may not want to use him. But in PPR leagues where you have to have 3, and if you have anybody on the Chiefs or anyone on that's on a bye this week, he could be your W3 or a flex player. So I think he should be a good pickup if he's still around. We talked about people dumping him, and so we were able to snag him after someone else got rid of him. Then it's a good opportunity too. I think another one too, just to keep around, who's on a bye week for the Chiefs, is that McCole Hardman. If you do have room on your bench, you saw what he was doing last week with those jet sweeps and some good couple catches with runs. He is someone to also think about too if you don't need somebody this week to start for you.
Yeah, those Chiefs receivers are interesting. I mean, from in 1 week they'll get you, one catch for 8 yards, and the next week they'll get you 3 touchdowns. You're right. I mean, that could happen. Maybe Hardman will be more of a go-to guy now. Let's move to tight ends. This week I've got Kelsey on a bye. So who do you think I should pick up from the waiver wire for tight end?
Jaron Johnson, tight end for the New Orleans Saints.
He's a tight end for the Saints who actually plays tight end.
Yeah, he's sixth best fantasy point football player right now on the tight end spot. So that would be someone I would go after if you need that one person for this week.
I've been sort of wondering who would be better. Evan Ingram from Jacksonville, who seems to be getting a lot of targets, but they're playing Denver and they're a good defense.
They're playing in London.
Yeah, or Greg Dulcich. And he's on the Broncos, and I said I didn't want anything to do with the Broncos, but this regime drafted him, and he's been one of the top tight ends the last 2 weeks since he started playing.
Okay, well, flip the coin, see what the gamble looks like.
Now, maybe I'll take your advice and go with Jawan Johnson and just blame it on you if it doesn't work out.
There's going to be other factors in your fantasy week that you can also pinpoint, but sure, I can weigh that load.
It lets me off the hook. And then if it works out, I can just go, thanks, Scott. That was awesome. Suggestion. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Defensively, I've got two teams that you might want to look at. Have you got someone on defense that you like?
Let's hear yours.
Well, in a battle of have-nots, the Washington Commanders are playing the Indianapolis Colts. So both teams have backup quarterbacks starting and haven't been scoring a lot of points. So I think either the Commanders or the Colts would be a good defense this week.
So it's like a coin toss to see who stops the most points from being scored. Yeah, interesting. The Colts are supposed without that linebacker, they really are.
Leonard.
Yeah, Leonard. Yeah, that's right. Was super suffering this year, which is interesting. So my only choice would be Raiders, I guess. They're playing the Saints. If you need a wire, I don't know. But they do have they have a great mediocre secondary, great D line. And
it's a good suggestion because I started the Cardinals last week. I picked them up on waivers because I had the Minnesota D and they were on a bye. So I picked up Arizona because they were playing New Orleans. They had back-to-back pick sixes. They scored me 14 points for a defense that's huge. So I think your suggestion is great. Play anyone who's facing New Orleans in fantasy on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, kickers. Who you got?
No one. Absolutely no one.
Well, okay. After last night's game, I'm going to say go with Greg Zuerlein from the Jets because they're playing New England Patriots defense. And although the Jets aren't very good and they can't throw the ball, New England's defense isn't very good either. It's probably going to be a low-scoring, field goal kicking, boring game to watch. So I'm going to look to pick up Greg Zuerlein for my kicker for the Jets.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't do any research on kickers this week. I ran out of time or just didn't think it was too big of a deal, as most people could do their own research. But hey, if you're thinking in the way that you're thinking, low scoring game, field goals, that's usually how I always like to pick my kickers, as well too, like teams that don't have too much offense but can get you kind of close. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. I don't have anything to comment today or this week, but definitely maybe in week 9 I might have a couple to see where we are.
Okay, that'll be your homework for this week.
Yeah, so finding out kickers.
Yeah. Because this year, fantasy scoring is down. A lot of the games are low scoring, and kickers are really important. I hate to say it.
All positions are really important too. I don't even know how my points even tally up to what they do sometimes because I look at them and they're a lot of them under single digits, and then a couple of them are in their, really high scoring mark. So, I think my last defense scored me 2 points over the last 2 weeks, got me like minus points the other week, but I'm still winning my weeks because the other positions are taking care of it. But this week, I'm a little bit trouble with an IR, QB, and a running back on. So I got some pretty hefty shoes to fill this week.
Who's the player that's been sort of your benchmark guy? Like you're a 6-1 team. I'm 3-4. Not very good. But most of the teams in my league are 3-4 or 4-3. So I'm not out of it. I still have a fighting chance. We're all bunched together in the middle. But I've been having trouble pinpointing like who's my guy? For you, do you have a guy that's like sort of really steadily getting you a lot of points week in and week out?
Yeah, Austin Eckler.
Okay, and he's on a bye this week.
That's correct. So that's what my need is. And then Fournette's still out there too. So I have two great RB1 and 2s, and then I have Jamal Williams from the Detroit Lions. I usually stream as a running back, and he gets the goal line punches when sweeps out. So that's sort of my go-to thing. And then my wide receiver, Marquise Brown, just went out. So my wide receivers are a little bit slim right now, just waiting. I don't know. Like I said, it's as long as I'm getting 16 points off the 3 of them, it seems to be like I'm doing okay. But yeah, it's because I have the number 1 fantasy football player right now on my roster. I think I'm doing so well. And obviously, Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback is a pretty good job.
Nice. Okay. There you go.
So this
week got Eckler and Mahomes. That's great.
So this week for me, it's pretty challenging as those 2 guys are gone. But who knows? Let's see what happens off this waiver wire.
All right, man. Well, good luck. I hope you win.
Yeah. And Marquise Brown didn't go into IR until this week, so I couldn't get another replacement for him last week. So I had to wait for the weekend to end. So
you're gonna spend some fab money.
Yeah, I gotta look at my budget to see what I have because it's only week 8, and there's still like 10 more weeks to go.
True. And in our league, we get 20 waiver picks a season, and I'm at 15 right now, and I need to go and get a tight end this week. So I'm getting to the end of the line, but I gotta fight. To stay. I still have a chance, so I'm gonna fight and exhaust every option.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go work the waiver wire. Let's talk next week.
All right. Enjoy your day.
You too. Good luck.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the Fantasy Football Game Plan podcast. Need coaching on your lineup? Drop us a line and we'll discuss your dilemma.